All right.
Hello.
Welcome to Balanced Besties episode number
Two.
deuces.
Yep.
We hope you enjoyed our first episode of
Yeah.
our childhood and who we are and where we're from and how we know each other and why we're doing
Yeah.
this. So
Reliving all of our memories together.
exactly.
Yeah.
So today we wanted to talk to y'all about goals. This episode is all about goals and goal setting and whatnot because it's still early in the year. And by this point, people are either like on the path with their goals or they have kind of fallen off the wagon with their goals. So it might be a good time for them to like reevaluate, like, hey, okay, let me jump back into this and look at goal setting again. And what are some goals like now that we're a little bit in, still kind of new in the year, but a few months or a month and a half or whatever into the year at this point.
Yeah.
They, are like, hey, I kind of fell off the wagon after January 4th.
Right. Yeah.
Let's relook at those goals again.
I feel like that's the problem with the New Year's resolution style of goal setting, and we can talk about that. But
absolutely.
Yeah.
But first, let's share.
How you doing?
What?
Let's get into how we're doing today.
How we're doing. How are you doing?
All right. It's nice out. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's nice here too. It's sunny, but it's supposed to snow, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. I can do without the snow. You go ahead and enjoy that.
It's so cold. Cold winter over here.
Yeah. Tell everybody where you're at right now.
We're in Spokane, Eastern Washington.
Yeah.
So yeah, we decided when we were done traveling, we didn't want to go back to the west side of the mountains. Mm-hmm. So we are staying east of the mountains, either here or Idaho or Montana is where we're going to end up like permanently.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So, and that'll play into one of my goals once we get to talking about what our goals are.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Cool. So we talked about sharing something to start off the show today, like anything you feel like sharing.
Did you have something in mind? So I wanted to share one of the goals that I set for myself for the year. So it plays into my goals too. But I have been writing in a journal for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. And it kind of ebbs and flows on what it is. Usually it's a gratitude journal. And I kind of fallen off the wagon for the last maybe 2 or 3 months at the end of the year. But I am writing my gratitude journal again. And I just want to encourage anybody, if you have not started a journal, you can just go to Walmart or Target and get a notebook, like even a small notebook, like $4 or $5. They're not super expensive. And just start writing down things you're grateful for. I think people look at journaling and they're like, oh, it seems so overwhelming or daunting or whatnot. And they don't know what to do. And I just say, write down 5 things you're grateful for every day, because it really like changes your outlook and your perspective. And I had felt myself, I had like not been showing gratitude in my life as much. And just being able to sit down and really think in the morning, like, here are 5 things that I am grateful for today. And it just kind of changes the outlook on your day. So I just wanted to encourage people, like, if you don't write in a journal and you don't know what to write, just start writing 5 things you're grateful for every day. And that's it. It takes like 5 minutes and you're done. So it's not a huge task. I think people get overwhelmed by it, but I just wanted to encourage people to do that.
I love it. Yeah, no, actually, when I was younger, I journaled a lot. And then for a long time, I got away from it. And then in recent time, starting back in October, I did my accountability group, and at the end of it, I decided to kind of task everybody with picking something to do different in their life stick to it for 30 days.
Yeah.
So I started to journal. That was my thing. And I've stuck with it now since October, and it has been awesome. It's been so good. I mean, it doesn't even have to be, gratitude's a great way to use it. And I do that on some days. I will end it. There's quite a few days in there that I've ended it with like forcing myself to come up with like 10 things I'm grateful for that day. But even just, it can give you great insight to some of the things that you're trying to process. It can help you get some of the emotions out that you're going through. Or I've done some sort of, what do you call it, like visioning with it,
Yeah.
envisioning my future and trying to really help my brain see like what the possibilities are out there. So yeah, that's awesome. I love that. A similar I have done starting for the new year, and actually Charlie's doing it with me, my daughter. At the end of every day, we write one good thing from the day.
I love it.
Just write it on a post-it note with the date and pick, the one good thing from the day, write it down, and we fold it up and we stick it in jars. And then at the end of the year, we're going to open them up and read through them. So I got this idea from Instagram. There's someone I follow on there that does that. So
That's a great
I was like,
idea.
that's awesome. And I'm looking forward to at the end of the year sitting down with her and going through all those things and just all the grateful things that I'm grateful for and the positive things throughout the year, big or small.
Yeah,
Sometimes
for
you have
sure.
to dig around to think of something to be grateful for that day.
Yeah.
It might just be that the sun came out, but
Right.
like, or you got just a text from somebody that, it's nice to just have someone think of you or whatever,
Yeah, totally.
um, and then also, kind of along with that, I started to do, and I think it was the same, yeah, it's the same person that gave me this idea. It's very similar, but taking any negative thoughts that you have and writing them down and putting them in a jar to take them out of you.
Yeah.
Um, so I've been trying to do that too, although I haven't been as on top of that, but
Or even just
yeah.
like, writing, like you said, just writing like stream of consciousness, right? Like you
Yeah.
just write. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's what you and I both kind of did that, I think, when we were kids in our journals. It was just like write
Mm-hmm.
whatever, like
Yeah.
what you're thinking or
Mm-hmm.
what you're feeling or your emotions or a diary, right? Like more of a diary
Yeah.
style
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
journaling, just to
Yeah.
get things out on paper because sometimes people need that, just to
Yeah,
get things out.
it's helped me tremendously to just kind of get some of the things that I'm dealing usually emotionally, like dealing with,
Hmm.
just getting them out on paper and out of my mind. It just
Yeah.
really, really helps.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
It was funny when you mentioned the thing with you and Charlie. I'm getting us slightly off topic, but we'll get back to the goals in a minute.
That's yeah.
Um, when I used to pick Audrey up from school before we started traveling, I would pick her, and then a few days a week I'd pick up one of her little friends. And my other friend Beth, I think, is the one who had taught me, told me that she did this with her kids. But I would do a high, low, hippo. So what was the high of your day? What was the low of your day? And then the hippo is whatever you want to tell me about what happened that day. And so they'd get in the car and we'd be going to dance and I'd be like, okay, high, low, hippo. And there was one time that I didn't do it. And Audrey's little friend was like, hey, are we going to do high, low, hippo today? And I'm like, so it like really, they really enjoyed it, like
Mhm.
asking your kids, it doesn't have to be like, tell me about your day. Cause a lot of times kids will be like, I don't know. I don't
It was
remember.
good.
It was fine. So it's just like one positive thing, one, not so great thing. And there was times where she's like, I don't have anything for this. And it's like, okay, that's all right.
Mhm.
But they look
Yeah,
forward
I
to it.
love
That's
that.
fun.
I love that. I might have to steal that. In fact, actually, my sister and her husband, they do that with their daughter, who's a couple years younger than Charlie,
Mhm.
Mia. They do that with her, but they just do the high and the low. Like, what was the best thing of your day? What was the not so great thing today?
Yeah.
And they do it every night, I think. So we participated in that with them. But yeah, but I like that there's the high low hippo. That sounds really
Hmm.
cool. And
Yeah.
and yeah, these kids they love it. Like that's a great way, like you said, to have them talk about their day and
Hmm.
make it like a fun way instead of just asking them how was your day and they just go good. It was fine. But Charlie loves it at the end of the night. And the other thing we do too is we plan out. I'll probably touch on this when we get into the conversation. But I plan out my next day. So every night we sit down and we plan our next day. And she does it with me. She loves it. She like is so excited for my timer to go off that it's time to do our good
Aw.
thing and do our planner. And yeah, I just it, I think that having the good thing that she writes down every day is going to be very valuable for her at the end of the
Hmm.
year. Maybe, the planning doesn't usually work. I mean, hers is cute. It's really cute. It's like, get up, get dressed. I mean, it's not too far off from what I write, but she,
Right.
get up, get dressed, eat breakfast and go to
Hmm.
school, and
Yeah.
um, and she doesn't necessarily, she follows it pretty much throughout the day, but of course she does other things too. And so do I.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I hope like it'll give her something to as she's older create like a habit that
Yeah.
will help her function, better in the world because I have not been the most organized like this is all new to me. I just started doing this year.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm hoping she'll learn from that and carry it into her adulthood.
Agree.
Yeah, fun stuff.
All right. Let's talk about goals, shall we?
Yeah. Um, should we talk about what goals are first?
Yeah.
Like, should we try and lay that out a little bit? Because we kind of touched on that. We were talking about, people might be falling off their goal wagon already. And we're talking like that as if like everybody writes their goals starting at the beginning of the year, but you don't
Yeah,
have to. You can write goals at any time.
exactly.
Like I said, that kind of falls into that sort of New Year's resolution
Hmm.
type goal setting.
Or the, oh,
Um,
I'm going to wait until next month goal setting, right?
yeah,
I'm going to wait
yeah.
until
Mhm.
Monday. I'm going
I
to
gotta
start.
wait till Monday,
Yep.
and then then Monday comes around.
Yep. My mom's the queen of that. I'm going to wait till Monday. I'm going to do it on
She,
Monday.
she is, isn't she? Well, I think we all are, but like, yeah, we can all fall victim to that, or a lot of people do.
Hmm.
And resolutions. It's so easy to say like I resolve to, uh, go to bed earlier. I had been saying that for a long ass time. Just I'm gonna go to bed early and get up early. Nope, didn't happen. Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna start on Monday.
Right.
And oddly enough, yeah, actually this year, at the start of the year, I did go, I'm gonna do these things starting the first of the year, and I did do it,
Yeah.
you know. But I don't know. I think you agree that resolutions aren't really like the best way to set goals or create goals or make change in your life.
Yeah, I agree. I think I think saying I resolved to do this or whatever, or create a resolution around something, it's just too high level, right? Like I resolved to work out this year. Okay, cool. Like, what does that mean? Right? Like, what
Right.
does that look
Yeah.
like? So having just saying like, or I resolved for some people to quit smoking this year. Okay, well, what does that look like? That's great that you want to do that, but that's a goal, but that's not really how goals should be looked at, right?
Well, and kind of like you were talking about too, like, oh, I'll start next month or I'll start on Monday, like that. You might have the intention, but if you're going to start doing something, start doing it. Like you
Yeah.
don't need the beginning of a year to make a change. You don't need the beginning of a year to set a new goal.
Yep.
So to use something like the first of the year to create a whole new you
Yeah.
is a lofty idea that isn't. There's statistics out there. It's really not successful. People
Right.
don't really follow through on resolutions.
Well, I mean, you look at the gym, right? Like they
Yeah.
always say the first, like, what, 3 weeks, I think people usually last about 3 weeks and then they fall
Mm-hmm.
off. And I
Yep.
remember when we used to go to the gym, I would avoid the gym at the first of
Right.
the year
Yeah.
because that's when I knew it was going to be so crowded because, people have good intentions, right? Everybody has good intentions. But they don't set specific goals. They don't write their actual goals down and put them on paper, which is a huge part of goal setting, not just saying it in your mind, is actually writing it down. Um, but like writing it down and like having a plan to get to that goal. So having a resolution that I'm going to get in shape this year, or I'm going to lose 10 pounds or 20 pounds, or I'm going to go to the gym more, or exercise more is awesome. But then it's not really a goal unless you like write it down and work on how you're going to accomplish that. So yeah, they always say
Right.
the first 3 weeks are like really busy and then people just kind
Oh,
of
for
fall
sure.
off after that at the
Yeah.
gym.
I bet if you ask anybody that worked at a gym or goes to the gym, they would be like, "Oh man, first few weeks after the beginning of the year is awful." Well, except
Yeah.
for this year, maybe.
Right. I know. Gosh.
Oh, good old COVID.
Ugh.
Um, so you know, the other thing that's kind of like I would say like a word going around right now, and I used it for starting my new year. This is really like a year I'm taking to a whole nother level for myself.
Mm-hmm.
So the other thing that I ended up doing by chance, really, someone had posed the question in Instagram and I answered it, and so it's kind of actually had a pretty powerful impact for me so far, and that is setting intentions, which is a whole nother thing too. So you can have your goals, which are we'll talk about are very specific
Mm-hmm.
usually. Um, Resolutions, as we mentioned, is really like resolving that you're going to make some big change. Intentions are, really setting a tone
Mm-hmm.
for the year, you know? So really trying to create a mindset that will feed into accomplishing your goals, and feed into creating the kind of And you can say the kind of year, the kind of day, the kind of, setting our intentions for us talking right now.
Yeah.
There's it can intentions are a whole nother aspect of it, that play into it as well.
Yeah.
So we can
How do
kind
you
of dig
approach?
into
Yeah, tell me, is that how you approached your goal setting then? By writing
this
it.
year. This year, like I said, I'm really trying to kind of, I guess you could say, level up this year. I have a lot that I'm trying to accomplish
Mm-hmm.
that is very much out of my comfort zone. I'm trying to create a business, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm really pushing my comfort zone, getting out of my box.
Yeah.
Um, and so I very intentionally on the last couple days of the year sat down, um, and sort of I journaled about things, journaled about how I want my future to look, um, journaled about what I thought I needed to do,
Vision casting.
and huh?
Vision casting.
Yeah,
They call that
or
vision
visioning.
casting.
I say
Yeah.
visioning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and then I listened to a couple podcasts. I listened to like uh Rachel Hollis and the other podcast that you listen to.
Boss Girl Creative.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yes,
like
Boss
her
Girl
podcast.
Creative.
Mm-hmm.
So I listened to their two podcasts about their New Year's goal setting or whatever, and got some ideas from them. So I then went and outlined. I made this kind of came from Rachel, um, a joy list. So things that bring me joy, everything that really fills up my cup.
Yeah.
And then I made a list. This is kind of on my own that I do. I would do this all the time. Actually, I have a ongoing list usually of things that I want. There are a lot of it's material things,
Mm-hmm.
but things that I can't get right now, but I know that I want in my life in the future. I mean, we're talking about even dumb things like I want a new mattress, like just stupid. Um,
That's not stupid. Sleep is important, man. You don't have
Sleep is
bad
important,
back.
and also
Sleep is so important.
non-toxic sleep is important. So
Yeah.
like that's on my list of things that I eventually want to get. And then I made another list of I suppose it was like my intentions. It was yeah, it was basically intentions, or it was my values, really is what it was. I did a list of my values and sort of everything. It was a long box of just things I wanted to work on, um, and really embody. And then I went and I already had an idea of some of the things I wanted to accomplish in the year. So I really wrote out sort of my goals, and tried to kind of tie it all together to some degree and
Yeah.
really see it as one big picture.
I like that.
So that was my sort of process, I guess you could say,
Yeah.
at a high level.
I like
What
that.
about you?
So I approach goal setting to the way a lot of people were probably taught. Like for me, I taught in business school was
Mm-hmm.
to set SMART goals. So I'm sure almost everybody who's listening to this has heard of SMART goals, right? Not everybody knows what SMART goals mean though. So when I set SMART goals, SMART is specific, measurable, attainable or achievable, realistic and timely or time bound.
Mm-hmm.
So specific, like what is your goal? Like not just like, I want to get in shape. Okay. That's a great like resolution, like we said, but okay, like I want to lose 10 pounds, right? So you're setting a goal of like, I want to lose 10 pounds. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Measurable. How will I know I've achieved that goal? I hit this weight on the scale, or I hit, you know what I mean? Um,
Mm-hmm.
Attainable or achievable. Can this goal be done? Make sure when you're looking at your goals, it's something that is achievable. It's not like, I want to make $1 million in the next month. Like that's probably, unless you already have a business that's already trucking down there, right? Like, I'm starting a new business and I'm going to make $1 million in my first month. That's not really necessarily achievable or attainable. So you want to make sure it's something that is attainable and achievable
Mm-hmm.
in that time frame that you set for yourself. Realistic or reasonable. Like, is it important to me? You don't want your goals to be bound by other people and what their goals are. You want it to
Yeah.
be something that's very specific to you and attainable and realistic for you to achieve. You don't want to
Mm-hmm.
be relying on other people for you to accomplish your goal. And then timely or time bound, you want to have a deadline. So I want to lose 10 pounds. I'll reach this weight on the scale by March 30th. Like that is SMART goal, you can accomplish it yourself. You don't rely on anybody else, and you've kind of like
Mhm.
set a time frame for it, right? So I remember in college classes, I don't even remember what class it was, but going through and like setting SMART goals
Yeah.
and learning how to do them and that sort of thing. So that's kind of how
Yeah.
I always look at my goals when I'm like, what do I want my goals to be this year? And then I break it
Mhm.
down into more detail. So I have like, this is my goal. And then here are the steps that I'm going to do to get to it in January, in February, in March. Here's where I want to
Mhm.
be. I'll set a goal for that month of like how I'm going to accomplish this bigger goal. And then I'll have weekly goals on top of that. So every
Yeah.
Sunday, I will sit down and I will say, what am I going to do this week to work towards this monthly goal, which feeds into my goal that I have set for myself at the end of the year. So
Mhm.
it's like stair stepping kind of.
Yeah.
So like the little tiny tidbits um, feed into the larger goal, because I think a lot of times people will set goals, but then they won't set the steps that they need to get there.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
they'll say, I'm going to go to the gym 4 days a week. But then it's the end of Monday and they haven't been to the gym, and it's the end of Tuesday and then their kid got sick, or there's something like they don't have a way to like make sure that they carve out that time in their day. Okay, you want to go to the gym 4 days a week. Cool. When? What time are you going to go? You need to block out your schedule. You need to have somebody watching
Mhm.
your kids or have a daycare at the gym, like that sort of thing, you know? So it's working on those steps toward achieving that bigger goal. It's
Mhm.
kind of how I do my goal setting.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, that's very much the very like logical. There's a reason they teach that in business school.
Yep. Very
And
logical.
it's, and anytime you talk to anybody about that's like a it works in that field of helping people set goals and achieve goals, like any sort of like a trainer, a coach, or anything like that, that's probably the framework they're going to use. And
Mm-hmm.
in my mind, like I know that, like I even think about it, I'm like, okay, this year I'm going to lay out like by the, I'm going to outline every step along the way that I'm going to take to get to where I need to go. I'm going to start creating deadlines. I had this whole like, I still haven't done it. I still haven't mapped it out. I still have, like I just start, I'm so much more of a feeler,
Mm-hmm.
that I have these ideas. And I mean, everybody listening, take this with a grain of salt because I'm sure Tiffany has accomplished a lot more in her life than I have.
No.
Um, and but like, for me, I have the idea, and then I know there's steps I need or things I need to do to work toward it. But also, I guess my experience, and maybe it's because I've created this world for myself, is that life throws me curveballs. And some would say like you're supposed to push through that, right? You're supposed to, life's not always going to be perfect for you to achieve the things that you want to do. It's like Jocko would say, um, Jocko Willink, he would say, not every day is going to be perfect. You can't wait for the perfect setting to, do the thing. You got to get up every day and you got to work out,
Yep.
even if it's not a perfect day for it, right?
Yep.
But man, life throws some curveballs, and sometimes, sometimes, I'm just like, I I gotta refocus to something else right now because all of a sudden my whole life has turned a different direction, you know?
And I think that's
And that's
okay.
been
Like I think that's
that's,
okay to refocus, right? Like I
yeah,
think it's okay if you like say, okay, like this is taking me a little bit off track here, but like that doesn't change your goal, right?
yeah. Well, I think so. That's where like it's really important to understand what the goal is. So like you could say, yeah, I want to lose 10 pounds, but really, is that what your goal is? Is your
Mm-hmm.
goal to lose the 10 pounds? Or you could say, I want to work out 4 days a week. Okay, but that's not a goal. That's how you're going to achieve what is your actual goal. Your goal is probably to get healthier, So it's like really digging into what that true goal is. And then we'll talk probably a little bit more into this too. My big thing right now is figuring out what your why is. Like, why are you setting these goals?
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, like the biggest thing to me, the driving force is why you're doing the things you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So really, really trying to dig into that.
Well, and I think that's important too, is knowing what your why is, because like I think what you said there about how a lot of people, their goal will be to be healthier, which I think that we think that's what their ultimate goal should be. But I think a lot of people's goal is really like, I don't fit in these jeans anymore and I want to fit in those
Oh, for
jeans. And I
sure.
don't care how I get there. I'm going to go do 45 minutes on the treadmill every single day. And then that's how I'm going to eat there. Or I'm going to, like just cut my calories down to 1,000 calories a day or whatever, and or use diet pills. And
Mhm.
there's a lot of people who don't realize that that's not, number one, not a sustainable way to get there. Number two, it's not like realistic, and it's not a healthy way to get there. Like, we want them to like reframe their
Yes.
mindset about getting healthy, right? But I think a
Yeah.
lot of times people are just like, I don't like the way I look right now. So
Well, and I think that's where like have working, and this is probably a whole nother episode, but working with someone that that
yeah,
you know understands that no, losing the weight really shouldn't be the goal. That's going to actually what do you want to say, incent bad behaviors,
absolutely.
and at the end of the day, and again, this is a whole nother episode, but something like losing weight, that comes with being healthier. It doesn't
Yep.
come with calorie deficits and working yourself to to death.
Yeah. You have to
um
change your mindset, and that's the why, and that's the getting the mindset right.
right, yeah, yeah, but that's like a whole nother
That's a whole nother
subject.
episode. Okay, so tell me, what are your goals this year? What goals did you set for yourself?
So I have like a couple of probably, I would say, like big overarching goals
Mm-hmm.
that, again, so like kind of what I was speaking to, I had set these goals of things I wanted to do this year, but then I took a step back and thought about it. I was like, well, those really aren't the goals. Those are really probably the things I'm trying to do to accomplish my goal. And
Mm-hmm.
I kind of in my mind know that those are the things I need to do. So my overarching goal, the big one for this year, is to build a successful business, or at least get my business off the ground.
Mm-hmm.
That's my big overarching goal. I have some other sort of on the side physical goals, as far as I've kind of had this long-standing goal to get a press handstand,
Oh yeah.
and yeah, and I want to get my splits, and I want to do a kip.
Yeah.
There's a little gymnast in me that's still like dying to come out and thrive. So those are kind of my on the side goals that I continue to work toward, but they're not my focus. Another goal I have that's kind of a, I don't know what you want to call it. It's definitely not a SMART goal. it's a I just want to be more intentional.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so again, the things that I've kind of built into that, of things I want to do to work towards these things, are probably the incremental steps towards those.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so things like stuff that we've already started. This podcast was one of them, right? One of my
Yep.
goals was to start this podcast. Another goal was getting a dialed in morning routine so
Mm-hmm.
that I started my day off right, and I was more productive. Um, I wanted to go back through doing the GAPS intro diet. Um, and so to dig into that, so that's, again, that's like that's an activity, right? That's not really a goal.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but the goal for that is, one, I'm trying to overcome a couple of continuing health issues for myself, mostly like they wouldn't stand out to anybody else. They stand out to me.
Right.
Um,
Because
um,
you know yourself, right? You know your body.
yes, I'm very connected with my body and
Yes.
what's going on. But also for my daughter, who is really the driving force behind all the changes I've made health wise in my life.
Right.
So trying to achieve greater health for her in some very specific ways, but also doing the GAPS intro is something I've wanted to do to kind of reconnect with that protocol to maybe use within my practice as a nutritional practitioner. Um, so those are some. I also wanted to get started on homeschooling with Charlie. That's another thing on my mind.
Ooh, I like that
Um,
one. I like that
yeah, yeah. So I'm
one.
trying to work towards that. But that's also one of those things that's going to have to come probably once I figure out my business side of things.
Yep.
Um, and then kind of within all that too, is creating an income to support the life that I want. So again, the overarching goal is really to build a successful business.
Mm-hmm.
That's my big
Nice.
one. And then being intentional, I'm doing stuff to really learn to be more focused throughout the day, and spending intentional time with Charlie, my daughter, and using social media more as a tool than as a addiction, you know,
Or
like,
escape.
yes, exactly.
Yep.
And then learning to hold stronger boundaries
Mhm.
and really speak up for myself. That's been something that's a ongoing thing I'm working on, being a recovering people pleaser. Um, and then just, being more in the moment. I'm meditating and
Oh,
journaling. Those are some of the practices I'm doing. Oh, kids are home.
sorry. Oh, Audrey. Thank you. Sorry, I tried to text Kellen and tell him like, "Can you get it? Please don't let the kids down yet." They just went and ran some chores and now they're back because we got to do some more work on this house. So, sorry,
Oh,
people.
all good. Keeping it real around here.
Yeah, exactly. That's life with kids.
Yep, yep, yep. So yeah, those are kind of my goals. What are your goals?
So, I actually have the goal of being more intentional with my time too. And for
Mhm,
me, that's more like focus time with the kids. So it's the social media going on there and using it as a tool to put out content versus just consume content all the time.
mhm,
And be more intentional with my time with the kids. So putting away our phones, having family dinners, playing games as a family at dinner time. Um, and I think looking at I think that is a good goal to have. And I think the ways you can accomplish it and my like specific things when it comes to what my intentional time looks like is phone off 30 minutes before bed. Um, like not starting on my phone like when I first wake up in the morning, like that sort of thing. So like those are like
yeah.
specific things how I'm trying to be a little bit more intentional with my time. Not being on my phone when I'm doing school with Audrey, that sort of thing.
Mhm,
Um, the second goal I have is to buy another investment property. So this is our first investment property we bought, which we were going to turn into a rental, but we decided to flip. So it's turning into a little bit more work than we originally planned since we're making it a flip versus a rental. But I want to buy another investment property this year by the end of the year, which probably in the same area, in the Spokane area. The area is
yeah.
growing a ton and there's not enough housing right now for people. So if we can buy some kind of rental property to have some for somebody to rent out, that'd be awesome. My third goal is to buy land as well. So we want to start a farm or a homestead. And when you talk about, you were mentioning earlier how things kind of get thrown around, like you're taken off track, right? That's kind of what
Mhm,
happened to us with this whole buying land thing. I thought we would buy a rental house and then immediately go buy our land, right? And now a lot
right.
of things have happened with some investments that we've made. That are kind of working for us and other like doing this as a flip versus doing it as a rental and then the kids wanting to get out of the trailer. So our kids are tired of living. Our kids don't want to travel anymore. So that's why we've decided to kind of stop traveling and settle down. And buying land to build a house and start a farm takes a lot of time. Um, but I still have the goal by the end of the year to buy land so that we can build a house and start our farm and get our animals, hence my reading my chicken book. At the end of the night, it's my pleasure reading
Uh-huh.
is reading about starting to having chickens. um, write in my blog 2 times a month. I would say last year we got so busy with traveling and doing other things with other businesses, homeschooling, things with my daughter and her pans, that my blog kind of took a back seat and I didn't write at all for probably the last 6 months of the year or more, 7 months last year. I didn't write at all. And I want to get back to that because it is a
Mhm,
really good creative outlet for me. So write in on there, write on a Fit Mom's Life blog 2 times a month. So 2 posts a month. I didn't want to do it weekly because I know that's an unrealistic goal for myself. So something that's realistic, right?
uh-huh.
Realistic goals, write on there 2 times a month and then find a new fitness routine. Traveling, I have been doing mostly body weights, bands, and then I had 5 pound dumbbells. And so I did that for about a year. And then I started doing online bar workouts, which I actually really, really enjoy and loved. But I kind of am looking for something a little bit different now that we're not traveling anymore. So I am working to find a new fitness routine that will work for me still at home in a small space. But something a little bit different that incorporates a little bit more weights because I miss lifting heavy weights. That's my
Yeah, I hear
favorite.
that.
So
Yeah.
a new fitness routine. And those are my big goals.
Yeah, and you mentioned your blog. That's another thing that I would like to get into. I mean, it'll be part of building my business, I love to write. And I actually
Mhm.
did start a blog a long time ago. You kind of
Yeah.
inspired me to when you
Yeah.
had started yours and we're really getting into it. I was like, shoot, I should. And this is when blogs really started to take off too.
Mhm.
And I was like, I should do that. And so I did start one. I think I wrote probably like 5 entries or something. And man, it took a lot of time. It was hard to
It
get
does.
one post done because I put a lot of work into them.
Mhm.
I'm sure you can relate. But it's something I'd really like to pick up. I think it's a great what do you want to call it? Uh, way to communicate to people information and give a more thorough information.
Yeah.
Um, so it's something, yeah, I wanted, that's probably part of my goal as well. To just not yet, it's in the in the distance a little bit until I kind of do some other things first, but it's probably not that far off.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. The difference between like a blog that people write for fun and like a blog people write for information is the amount of time that goes into it. So it takes me a
mhm.
very long time to write a lot of posts because I do a lot of research.
Yep.
A lot of the things that I write on there, because they are health and wellness related, they're research from articles or PubMed, um, or other areas, so that I make sure that I'm using, very credible sources and whatnot. I'm not just throwing my opinion around here and there, because I want it to be a tool for people to use as well, like this podcast. They can use it as a tool to reference back to and whatnot. So it
Totally.
takes a
Yeah,
lot of time. So,
it really does.
but I love it. It's fun.
Mhm.
It's like I
Yeah,
get my creativity out that way too.
totally. Yeah, I'm not an artistic person, but I do
Mhm.
consider myself a creative person because I
Yeah.
really do see the places where I do get creative, and a lot it is writing a lot. So I'd like to incorporate that into the work that I do,
Yeah.
and providing more information.
Agree.
So yeah, I love that.
Cool.
In the working out, I've been doing yoga lately. It's been really good. Um, trying to take it easy, but yeah, lifting weights, I love. It feels good to lift weights.
It does. It was hard to stop that when we started traveling, because I had gotten in really good shape.
Hmm.
Was really strong. And so it was really hard for me to like not have a gym to go to anymore and lift heavy weights. But you know what? I made it work and
Hmm.
got to have an awesome experience for a little while. And that's okay. I can get back to it. Once you stop, it doesn't mean you can't ever go back. So,
Yeah. Hmm.
yep.
So we talked about this a little bit. I mean, part of it's the setting of the goals. Actually, it's probably the biggest part is setting goals.
Hmm.
But what are the strategies you have for actually accomplishing these goals? You touched on this a little bit too, as far as um, actually taking the steps in your life to make them. What's going on over there?
A dog. I'm like, what is that sound? They all left again. Oh, it's the dog. Dog
Oh.
sniffing around. That dog.
Uh, oh man.
Sorry.
But the steps that you're going to take, or how you actually put things in motion to actually start working towards accomplishing your goals and actually fulfilling them. What are some of the things that you do?
So, so some of the things I do, I don't have it sitting right in front of me, but I have a planner, right?
Hmm.
So for me, having a planner is super important because I have a lot of things I do as far as businesses, homeschool activities, um, all that kind of stuff, traveling, husband, whatnot. So I have my planner. And what I do is each Sunday I sit down and I write down, I look at my goal. At the first page of my planner, I write what I want to accomplish toward that goal that month, right? And then each week I go in and I fill out on Sunday, what am I going to do this week to hit that goal? In addition to that, I used to carry just one notebook for notes,
Hmm.
but I have a lot of businesses, and I found that I would lose pages, right? I spent half of my time looking through the notebook for like, oh, I want to do something about our podcast right now, or oh, I want to look for what the next thing I want to write on my blog is. And I would like spent half my time looking for that. So I ended up going out and buying notebooks for all of my businesses. So now, instead of just having one notebook, I have 3 notebooks
There
for
you go.
my different businesses. And so then I just mark the last page I'm on, and that's where I have like what I create, like a to-do list for that business that I need, things that I need to accomplish that week as well. So I have it written in my planner, and I have it written in my notebook for things I can just jot down, like hey, I need to make sure I order that mic off Amazon this
Mhm.
week. Spend some time tonight researching microphones, that sort of thing. And I'll have it as an action item in my journal or in my
Mhm.
notebook, my journal notebook, but then I'll also have it as a end of the week goal in my planner.
Yeah.
So that's what, because I need multiple places to look at it and I have to
Yeah.
write it down otherwise. And I'm a paper person. A lot of people use digital tools. I know a lot of people who use their phones and journal that way. As far as goals go, there's apps that you can download for goal setting and whatnot, but I am a pen and paper person.
Mhm.
So I just carry my notebooks around with
I
me.
am with you on the pen and paper. And I wonder not to generalize and get into, men versus women, but I feel like it's a little bit of a female thing to do. Like I feel like women really need to connect with what they're doing.
Yeah.
And there's just a stronger connection with hand to pen to paper. Um, I don't know, I'm like making a stretch there on that, but I think maybe generally speaking for people, I think it works better for our minds to really there's something about reading an actual book than
Yeah.
reading something on a device,
Yeah. Agree.
I just feel like that using your different senses, the touch with everything, like it just connects more.
Mm-hmm.
And with devices, it's just, I don't know, it just feels so. And I also go quicker, like I don't know, things just stream better when
Yeah.
I am on paper. I don't
Yeah.
know. So I agree. I'm totally a paper person. I do use my phone for some things. Like I've found that reminders are very valuable.
So many
I have,
reminders.
oh my gosh, I have screwed up so many things by not setting reminders for myself. I'm like, oh, I'll remember. And then I'm like, no, I didn't. And like reminders have been such a game changer for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but outside of that, I don't use, and if I have a random thought, I'll use my notes or whatever in my phone.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm all about notebooks. So I kind of have a similar system, although you have sort of the system that I'm working towards, right? Where it's a very much more specific down to, and actually I'll give myself some credit. Like I am actually sort of doing it the
Mm-hmm.
same way. Just probably not to, I bet you have a really, just knowing you, a really broken down, like this quarter I'm going to do these
Oh, totally.
things. And
Yep.
yeah, I'm sure you do. And
Yep.
I have the thought I should do that and I don't. So I'm working towards that. But in my new routine that I've created of planning the night before and stuff, I have part of that is kind of what you have. I have an ongoing running list, a to-do list of all the things kind of on my brain
Mm-hmm.
and things I know I need to do to like you said, getting ready for this podcast, or as I'm working on my website and things like that. I have little things, small tasks that I know I need to accomplish that
Right.
week or in the near future. So I just have this ongoing running list, and then every night I'm going through and planning my next day and figuring out what I need to work on
Yeah.
for that day based on what's going on that day. I mean, between appointments or, anything like that. Um, and then I'm checking things off as I'm completing them and then adding new stuff as that's coming up, right?
Yeah.
It's just never ending. I can't believe how many things I can have on a to-do list.
Right.
And sometimes it turns into a to-do list that includes take a shower,
Right.
but like
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Seriously. Well, and that's okay. And that's another way that people can easily set goals is by making it into a to-do list, right? So
Yeah.
like you know what your goal is, you want to go to the gym 4 days a week, add it to your to-do list,
Yeah.
like
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of people to-do lists resonate with people a lot. And crossing that off once you accomplish it feels
Oh,
so good. It's like so
so
satisfying.
it is. It's so satisfying.
Yeah.
I also I'm starting I I'll see how this goes because there's part of me that I know this doesn't totally work, but it does at least for a period of time, I think. So I talked about my intentions earlier. So I have my like 5 or 6 words that are my intentions. Um and I wrote them out on a post-it, stuck it on my mirror in the bathroom. And when I'm brushing my teeth, I run through it, I have faith in everything that's happening in my life is working for me. I believe in myself that I'll accomplish the things I want to do. I, down the list, and I go down
Yeah.
my list, and I talk to myself about it. So I'm trying to make a habit of doing that. But I think even, your goals, have them out somewhere. I mean,
Yep.
I know this is something I should do. Um, and I don't put it into practice very well.
Well,
So
that's where
another thing,
creating a vision board comes in handy, right?
right?
Which we
We
know
talked
we're
about
gonna
this.
do. We're gonna do a vision board at some point. If you guys don't know what vision boards are, go search it.
Mhm.
Or search on Pinterest vision board. There's tons of people put their vision boards out there, but creating a
Yeah,
visual of your goals, right? So
yeah,
and putting
yeah.
it somewhere you see it all the time.
Well, and what really made me want to do that, it was sort of random because I've heard of vision boards for a while,
Yeah.
and I always thought, I don't need to do a, art project for my goals or whatever. Um, but what really like hit me, and it was totally, I will say, a download from the universe. It
Yeah.
wasn't, it was before it even came up between us in like our group and stuff about
Mhm.
doing a vision board. I just had this idea of like, you know what? I think part of my problem with achieving my goals, I know I'm the big problem. I am the big roadblock in achieving my
Right.
goals.
Sorry, the dog. They left and now the dog's doing something back there. This is my life.
Dang nugget.
Oh man.
Um, but I am my biggest roadblock. I have really, really, really realized this,
Yeah.
that I have a hard time in seeing myself in the world that I want,
Mhm. Yeah.
it's hard, let's say you think you're going to you want to be a millionaire someday, but you've always lived in a lower income lifestyle. It
Mhm.
is hard to really envision yourself in that other lifestyle, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So for me to try and really believe that I am going to be a functional nutritional therapy practitioner with a successful business with tons of clients and all that seems so like, what? How is
Right.
that going to happen? And it in my brain just like cannot compute it and accept it. So that is part of like what is keeping me
Mhm.
from accomplishing it, is not believing that it's possible. And so I had this like other vision kind of going on of what my life is going to look like in my home in the future and stuff. And I was like, you know what? If I had something out there, if I created a vision board that actually had pictures of these things that I envision for my future, it will start being easier for my brain to really see that as true, as
Mhm.
possible,
Yeah.
and really think it's not stupid for me to be working towards this, because it can and it will happen,
Yeah. For sure.
um, so there's, I really started kind of see the value and the possibilities that a vision board could bring.
Definitely.
Um, so yeah, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do that. And then it got brought up in our group and
Yeah.
that we're in, and I was like, that's so weird.
I know, right?
Like the
We're
universe
just
is
talking about
speaking to
this.
me right now.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah. Hmm. So yeah, that's something we'll do in the future, and I think that it will be very valuable for achieving our goals,
Mhm.
long and short term. Like mine's, I feel like a lot of my stuff is very long term, and then I have the shorter term things towards it.
Yeah. And I think like having like what I call, I think this was a Rachel Hollis concept that I implemented last year when we first started traveling, was 10 dreams in 10 years, right?
Hmm.
So write
I've done
down
that.
10 dreams that you want to accomplish in 10 years. And so that's part of my journaling every day. I write down my 10 dreams that I want to accomplish in 10 years. And it's like, it's pretty awesome to see like just having that in front of you all the time. And I'm like, man, we are really close to one of those already. I'm really close to almost two of those already. And so it's
Mhm.
like, having your goals kind of align with like what you want your life to look like. It's like manifesting
Mhm.
and creating that life for yourself, I think, is super important. And just keeping that in, like you said, a visual, and keeping that in front
Mhm.
of you all the time, I think is
Yep.
really important, because people are visual people.
Mhm.
um and so I think a vision board is a great way to do that, and it's probably something I need to do for my 10 dreams as well. So
Yeah, and that is a Rachel Hollis thing, and her key to that is that you write it in as if it's already happened,
yep,
right?
I am this. That's how I write everything. I have this,
Yeah.
I am this, I yeah.
Yeah, and I've done that before too. I haven't kept with it. You've stuck
Yeah.
with it.
Yep. Yeah, I've
Um,
been doing it for almost a year now.
have you? I had it
Mm.
in a journal. I filled up a journal with it, and then I kind of fell off the wagon on it.
Yeah.
I found that my dreams kept changing. And so,
Yeah.
which I'm sure is fine, but
Yep.
like,
And that's totally fine. I think
um,
that's totally fine. I think two of
yeah,
mine may change at some point. Right now they're not,
yeah.
but depends on how things happen in the world. Two of my
Mhm.
dreams may actually change. So,
But yeah, that manifesting is like another piece to the whole thing that's very interesting. I've been following a lot of is it Joe Dispenza
hmm,
um from the Aubrey Marcus
yeah.
podcast. He talks to him a lot, but and a couple other people I listen to as well, talking about your thoughts create your future.
Yep.
And so there was a time not too long ago, about a year ago, I happened upon like an old list that I had of things that I kind of wanted, or yeah, I mean, you say what I wanted or things that I wanted to work on or whatever. And it was like, oh my gosh, I did that. I did that.
Yeah.
I did that. Like I didn't even try. I wasn't even trying. It was just like, again, kind of setting that intention
Hmm.
that this is what I want to do. And I've done this sort of um in a very even not written down way. Like I've looked back just the other day, I was thinking back, I'm like, you know what? I told myself at my old job, I'm going to use this job to travel, and then I'm going to leave it and I'm going to pursue the career that I really want, that I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
Um, and sure enough, that's exactly what happened. I mean, I planned on staying there about a year longer and saving money first,
Yeah.
but the universe had other plans for me and was like, Jessica, you gotta get out of
Yeah,
here.
I gotta go.
And yeah. And so
Time
I
to get
left.
out.
But it was like, it was very interesting to see how just saying to myself, this is what I'm going to do.
Hmm.
And then all of a sudden, that's just what happened. And in very strange ways too. I mean, I left that job. I kid you not. I had no plan of it, but I ended up using my sick leave down to like the point two. I had like point two time, like that's all I'd left of my time there.
Yeah.
And it wasn't done on purpose. It just happened that way. And it's like I was really meant this is how things were meant to go, but I had set that intention for it, years before. And I kept telling people I will not be here much longer.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh yeah, Jessica, okay. And I'm like,
Uh-huh.
no, I promise you, I'm
Promise
not
you.
gonna be here. And
That's the
sure enough,
thing.
I was gone.
And I think that's part of like those goals and dreams and stuff is like being able, I think people have goals and dreams out there, but they don't know how to get there, and so
Mhm.
they stay in jobs that they hate because they're like, oh, I'm never going to do this or I'm never going to do that. And it's like, no, like break it out. Like you can do
Mhm.
that. And what do you need to do to get there? Right. You want to
Well,
go get a massage therapy certificate. What do you need to do to get there? You need to find a school. Okay, you need to save some money or you need to take out a loan, you need to do
mhm.
all these things to get there. And I wish and I hope more people start to follow those dreams and goals. Um because I think it's pretty awesome when you get to do what you're passionate about.
Yeah. There's the part of not knowing how, but I feel like even more so, like willing to take the risk,
Hmm.
Like I've put myself, I mean, even right now, I'm not in a great situation by any standards. I was in a way better situation financially a couple years ago.
Hmm.
Um, but I took the risk in believing in what I'm supposed to do and what I want to do and wanting more for myself than just money and stability.
Yeah.
And so I've put myself in a really risky position that some might say is not paying out well for me. I might even say that on a certain day, if you talk to me, I'll be like, what did I do? But like, you have to be willing to take those chances and say,
Hmm.
I don't need to make other people's dreams come true and live their dream and
Yeah.
work my butt off for them to be successful. I want my own life.
Yeah.
I want to do something that lights me up. The whole thing that got me going, I mean, it all kind of sprung out of me leaving my marriage,
Hmm.
and over time turned into just deciding that I only have this one life. Like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
I need to do things that make me happy. I need to do things that make this life worth it.
Yeah.
I don't want to just trudge through life and come out at the other side and be like, well, that was a big waste. I wish I had done this and this. And so being willing to step out and do the uncomfortable things. I love the thing that's going around right now. There's like a meme or something about, you know, life is hard, choose your hard,
Yeah.
being in a bad relationship is hard, or getting a divorce is hard, but so is being in a bad relationship.
Right.
Um, being in uh, trying to pursue your own dreams is hard, but staying in a terrible job that makes you miserable is hard too. So choose your heart. Which heart do you want to follow?
And I think a lot of people, there's great examples of people who have had it really, really hard and who have come and, they're like, I'm not going to live like this. I'm not going to live like my
Mm-hmm.
parents did, and
Mm-hmm.
so they choose that hard. They choose the hard path that it would be easy to stay and continue to live like their parents lived, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And if they come from a broken home or a bad situation or, abuse or whatever it is, but it takes a lot of willpower and guts and determination to
Mm-hmm.
want to get out of that situation, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like you did, like getting out of, you're like, I'm not happy in this marriage. I got to get out of this thing and, choose your heart. Right. And I
Yep.
think another thing that goes hand in hand with that is like people don't like to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I always talk about that. And I talk about that. I just did a fast the other week and I was talking about it on Instagram and I said, people don't like to be uncomfortable, and it
Mm-hmm.
sucked. Like it was hard, doing a 3-day fast and it was uncomfortable. And people don't like to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's easy to stay in your comfort zone and keep doing those things. It takes a lot of willpower and a lot of courage to get uncomfortable, whether that be
Mm-hmm.
physically, mentally, emotionally, financially.
Yeah.
But I think that so much comes, it's like that pressure, so much, they always say like pressure, how much pressure to make a diamond, right? Like so
Right.
much, there's, it, there's just so much good that can come out of it when you get yourself out of that comfort zone and shoot for those
Mm-hmm.
goals that you think are way unachievable, but really they're not if you can break them down,
Mm-hmm.
to manageable bite-sized chunks, and work toward them. Like I wish people would dream more about like what they want for their lives and like go for those goals and dreams.
Yeah. And the other piece that I have really happened upon for myself that I'm trying to push through is believing in yourself. I think,
Hmm.
you know, if people really dug into why they're not pursuing these kinds of things, it's because they don't believe in it for themselves. They don't believe that they can do it or that they're good enough or they
Yeah.
deserve it or, and
Yeah.
that's something that I'm struggling with. Really, I kind of talked about a little bit earlier is really believing in this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm capable of doing it and I will be successful, but it's going to be hard getting there. And I
Yeah.
have to push through that hard. I was listening to kind of random. I think I was just listening to like something motivational. I think it was Les Brown. Is that right? He's like a motivational speaker.
Brown.
I think
Yeah,
that's his
I
name.
think so.
And he was talking about kind of his story where he was trying to start his business. He's a motivational speaker basically. And he was in like a corporate office building, renting a space or something, and he was pretty much living there. And like the building manager told him, "Hey, you can't be sleeping here." And
Yeah.
he's like, "I know, man. I know I'm going to do this. I got to keep going. It's bad right now, but I know it's going to get better." And he was sleeping in his office and like showering in the bathroom or whatever.
Mhm.
And like he has gone on to be probably one of the most successful motivational
Yeah.
speakers. So
And
just
a lot of
really
people's
believing in it.
a lot of people's stories are like that. Tony Robbins has a
Mhm.
similar story of having no money. Ed Milet, similar story about him and his wife, getting their water shut off and stuff like that in their tiny apartment they were living in. And,
Mhm.
it's getting into that uncomfortable space to like really shoot for their goals. But it's just you got to be willing to do that sometimes. So
Yeah, for sure.
get
Mhm.
uncomfortable. It's gonna be okay.
Yep. Yep. You got to take those risks.
You do.
Do it.
Do it.
Mhm.
All right. Well, cool.
Um shoot, do you have any last piece of advice you want to give on goal setting?
I just say always write them down. Write them
That's
down,
good.
write them down, write them down. What is this saying? A goal not written down is just a dream or is just a
Mhm.
wish, right?
Yeah.
Write it
Mhm.
down, get pen to paper, put it on paper, write it down. Like that is like high level, like my number one tip. Write it down. Write your goal down. What
I
about
like
you?
that. Yeah, it's so true. And just think like how do you even know it's I mean you kind of have an idea of what your goals are, but to keep them in front of you and really remember what it is you're working on.
Yeah.
Um my I was thinking I have a couple thoughts that I want to leave with. One is what I talked about earlier. Remember your why. Really
Yep.
come back to that. There's like really awesome commercial that's going around about the old man that is working out and um, and he keeps lifting weights and everybody's looking at him like, what the hell is this guy doing? Have you seen this? And
Mm-mm.
like you're like in tears at the end of this because at the end it shows that he had been working out and getting himself fit so that when his like grandson is born, he can pick him up.
Oh.
It was like the coolest thing, right? But what he had was a picture. He had like a picture. I forget what the picture was, what it was, but it was a picture that I don't know if it was like his daughter pregnant or I don't know, something like that. But there was a picture that he had that he kept looking at while he was working out. So it was like holding on to that why, like why are you doing this, you know?
Yeah.
And really always coming back to that and remembering this is why I'm doing it, and that will push you through those hard times. The
Mm-hmm.
other thing that I found that has helped me stay with my goals is paying attention to the incremental um, steps that you accomplish. So I
Mm-hmm.
think about my handstands, right? I've been working on handstands for a long time. I mean, you could say I've probably been working on it for 2 years now. Um, and it wanes, and I get, sometimes I work on it more than other times. But when I got to my best handstand so far is I held it for 20 seconds. Now, when I started out, the best I could do is hold it for 2 seconds, and that's almost like luck that you can hold
Yeah,
yourself for 2 seconds.
for sure.
That wasn't taking any real stability or anything. It was just getting yourself up in the air, and you're like, oh, I'm up here now. I'm coming back down. But to hold yourself for 20 seconds, I'm like, shoot, I have made a huge gain,
Heck
even
yeah.
though I'm not where I want to be. I
Mm-hmm.
want to be doing that press handstand so bad, and I know I haven't put in the work for it that I should. But if I had been, shoot, where would I be? And but just to recognize that I have accomplished this much, I have gotten to that 20-second hold. I know I can do it. I
It's
know I can do
celebrating
it.
the small wins, right?
Yeah,
Celebrating those
yeah.
little wins, no matter how little they are. Like,
Mhm.
you got to celebrate them because it's the compound effect, right?
Yeah, yeah.
If you've never read Darren Hardy's book, The Compound Effect, it's probably still top five of my favorite all time
Well, I'll
favorite
have to look
personal
into that.
development books. I love it. I've read it like 3 or 4 times. But it's compounding. Things compound on each other. So it may seem like something is completely unattainable at the end, but it's those little goals. They just
Yeah.
compound on top of each other to accomplish that big goal. So it's exactly what you're saying. It's like, shoot,
Mhm.
I've come a long ways from where I started a year ago or 2 years ago.
And I just feel like that really keeps you going. It kept me going. Like I could have given up being like, I'm not getting anywhere with these dang handstands. But then I realized, no, I have gotten
Yeah.
somewhere. So I just got to keep working on it. And shoot, if I really worked at it, I could get there faster. So maybe I
Yeah.
should work at it a little bit more. And so I don't know what's going to help you with that. Maybe if you're, trying to lose weight, you're taking pictures of yourself. If
Mm-hmm.
you're, if you're trying to accomplish journaling so that you can look back and see where you were before. Just things like that. Anything that can kind of keep it in mind, what you have accomplished so that you want to
Mm-hmm.
keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Agree. I like it.
cool. I'll
Awesome.
have to look into that book.
Yeah. Compound Effect, Darren Hardy. It's really good.
Yeah,
I like him. He writes like a magazine thing too.
yeah,
I just really like him. He's been on some
yeah.
other I think he's been on Ed Milet and he's met with some other people as well. So he's a good guy. I
What's
like
that
him.
other book? 7 Habits of.
Highly effective
Oh,
people.
yeah, that's another one too. I need to look at that one again.
Yeah.
Pull that
There's
out.
a lot of good ones out. That one's a
Oh
good
yeah, for
solid
sure.
goodie. So
Yeah,
yeah.
cool.
All right.
Is
Well,
that
that's the end of
episode two?
episode 2. Awesome. Thanks for being here. Y'all will see you on episode 3.
Yay!
Bye.
Bye.